Take the camera.
Oh, okay.
Like this way.
Oh yeah. So the Lord, the Most High, He wanted Jake to believe and to know that He was gonna keep giving him that bread. So that the Most High said, don't let any of it stay overnight, so that you would eat it in the morning, or you would have something over in the morning, because there was gonna be more manna the next day. And it said some of them did that. They saved it till the next day, and it bred worms. Now you know that this is super spiritual, because on the Sabbath he said gather twice as much, and then on the next day it was good, it didn't breed worms. So you know that it was spiritual, man.
Yep. This is Zechariah 2:7. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye.
Man, there it is.
So, you know, hey, all these nations that afflicted Jake, afflicted these people, the 12 tribes, all these nations that came up against us from the dawn of time, they're going to have to pay for those things, man. Although we went off, although we sinned, because here it is, these nations, starting with Esau, believe that the Lord is with them because Jake went off and he wants to,
There was a keep Jake going on.
he wants to keep Jake going off, but he's also afflicting Jake. And he believes that the Lord is with him afflicting Jake. He says, oh, because they sinned against their Lord, I'm allowed to chastise them. I'm allowed to do this to them.
That's in the scriptures.
Yep. By E, the damn devil. Okay.
That's right here. Jeremiah 50:7. All that found them have devoured them, and the adversary said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Most High.
There it is. So Esau and these other nations do the things they're doing, and they believe that we're fucking nothing, man. You guys are nothing. And then I'll get away with it because you sinned against your God. Okay, you got other groups, whether they're the Moors or Kemetic dudes. They'll talk about us. Oh, see, you sinned. That's why you're going through this. Which is true. But they don't understand that we're going to be saved. Okay? Go ahead.
This is Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land.
So, we're here in America, Babylon. We're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But we're not in our land, which is Israel. Not just the city Jerusalem, but the whole country of Israel. He's going to take the elect, he's going to gather the elect in the four corners of the earth, and he's going to place us in our land. After the fire, the smoke clears. Good.
It says, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Which that's talking about Israelite foreigners. All right, Israelites that look like other nations. Because although this does say the 12 tribes with so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you do have Israelites that look like other nations. All right, like this brother, he's Irish. If you know history, the original Irish, the original people of Scotland, the Sicilians, are spawned from Negroid DNA. That's just a fact. The Moors were ruling Spain and Portugal. So even the original Portuguese and Spanish, they were dark-skinned people. Okay, that's actually in history. Why do you think you got actors, famous actors like John Travolta, they got black hair, brown eyes, but he looks like a white man? Because he's Sicilian, he descends from that lineage that went back to the Moors, which are actually Israelites. Can you get that? Jeremiah, what is it, 14:9, I believe, or 7:9.
Oh, you
Speckled bird.
Speckled bird,
Yeah.
12.
Did you have a question, Miss?
I wanted, no, I'm just listening to you, and I know about the 12 tribes of Israel, but I'm wondering, would it be okay to take a picture?
Yeah, you can take a picture of the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
fine.
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Jeremiah 12:9. And it says, "Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird."
So the Lord, he said that his heritage is unto him as a speckled bird. And if you Google speckled bird, there's the same bird, but they have different colors. Okay? So a speckled bird, if he's saying his heritage is unto him as a speckled bird, there's going to be Israelites that come in different colors, different shapes, with different customs. You know? Just like this brother right here, he don't look like me or look like this brother. You know? We had another brother with us that was a Negro. You know? But this is just for a depiction of how we looked in the ancient world. You know? Because people have been so-called mixed. You know? Listen.
So 1 Ezra 8:69. The nation of Israel, the princes, the priests, and Levites have not put away from them the strange people of the land.
So it said the ancient Israelites, they didn't put away the strange people of the land. Talking about the heathen that were living in the land before we went there. Go ahead.
It says, "Nor the pollutions of the Gentiles, to wit,
Their customs, their gods, the things that they're into. Go ahead.
of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and the Moabites, Egyptians, and Edomites. For both they and their sons have married with their daughters, and the holy seed is mixed with the strange people of the land. And from the beginning of this matter, the rulers and the great men have been partakers of this iniquity."
So all the way up into the great men, you had kings, you had priests that were dealing with the women of these other nations. So therefore the children would naturally cling onto the customs of their mom. You know, the mom might influence them.
Yeah, because the Israelites that were doing this were dealing with the other nations' gods and philosophies, and they weren't. Their heart wasn't fully set in their ways and their traditions, and so that's what you had going on. Because Israelites are a noble people, and in every captivity that they've been in, just like now, everybody sees how the way that the Israelites are. Everybody wants to be with an Israelite, you know. And so it was the same thing going back then. The other nations would take notice of the Israelites. Just look at Joseph when he was in the land of Egypt. The Egyptian, the captain, the Pharaoh's captain, his wife wanted to get with Joseph, because she seen that the Lord was dealing with him. And so you had that going on. You had Jakes that was doing all these different types of things, and going in onto the other nations. And so out of that, you had generations being bred into the nations. And so that's why you have such a thing as Israelite foreigners.
This is Matthew 5:13. It says, "Ye are the salt of the earth." So that is why Jake is naturally who they are. Everybody wants to be Jake, be around Jake. Like, you might have Edomites that are around Jake, or that like to be around Jake. Why? Because Jake is the life of the party. Jake has something to offer. You know, you might have an Edomite that kicks it with Jake for nothing more than Jake has the most fire weed. You know? Jake knows where all the bitches are. You know? So Esau, these other nations are like, man, in order to be somebody, I gotta be around these guys, man. I gotta be around Jake. It says, "Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt hath lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden underfoot."
Yeah, and this is what would happen to Jake. The salt would lose its savor, right? So even though that you're salty, but it doesn't taste good in the Lord's mouth, because you're going into other gods, other philosophies, other doctrines, doing all types of shit that you're not supposed to be doing. So that salt, it loses its savor, meaning that it doesn't taste good no more. It's bad salt. And so the Lord would do what? Cast Israel out.
Yeah, if the salt, if you go to buy salt and you bring it on your food and there's no flavoring, you gonna say,
Or it makes it taste funky, you spit it out.
you gonna get the whole. You gonna eventually get the whole box or bag. Just throw that
just
shit
throw
out.
it out.
You know?
Yeah.
To where it never be seen again or heard from. Go ahead, Artie.
Yeah, and actually the best salt is the pink one. You know, it's got all the colors.
say
You know what I mean?
Himalayan.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they say. But anything like, you go to buy anything like fruits or vegetables, if it's white, that'll show you like it's lacking elements.
Yeah.
Just like E. Okay, E was born red all over. Why? Because he lacked elements. He lacked that melanin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even like red onions are better than white onions because they have more minerals.
You go and you eat white rice all day,
Yeah, okay.
you're bound to get fucking diabetes, man, because it's just all sugar.
Yep.
But if you change up to brown rice, forbidden rice, black rice,
Yeah, okay.
that's better for you.
That black rice like that.
Yeah, it's fine.
That black rice, it got a taste of its own.
Yeah.
It tastes way different than any other rice. And it's rich, man. And it's like a deep purple.
Yeah, it got hella antioxidants. You know, way more elements, which nutrients are elements, than white rice, which is just bland.
When you look up the history, it's called forbidden rice because back in like feudal China, only the
Main samurai,
princes, only nobility were allowed to eat black rice.
which are mainly samurais, the emperor and all them.
That's why it was forbidden rice.
God.
So the peasants couldn't eat it, or you get in trouble.
What are you doing eating that? It's too good. Where'd you get that? Charlie's head off.
It's too good for you, peasants.
Yeah, and if you actually understand those times of feudal Japan, a lot of them were actually Israelites fucking with each other. Just like when you had in the Dark Ages, what was it, Jake, fucking with each other. A lot of those Japs are actually Israelites, which I believe through the spirit. A lot of them samurais were Gadites, man.
You got it, yeah, because Jake's blessing was that he would produce beyond the number of the stars, man. You know, he would produce to an uncountable, unmeasurable. So you have all these billions of people in the world. The majority of them is Jake because Jake got that blessing
We are billions.
to be fruitful, yeah. And so, that's why you even hear Apostle Torah say, you know, there's a lot of people that look like Edomites that are actually Jakes, and that's true for all these different nations. There's a lot of these Moab that look like Moabites, that look like Japheth, that look
And
like
they're China Mac.
Hey, look at China Mac.
That's Jake.
That dude's a grimy ass Jake. Dude is a gruesome ass Jake.
I was listening to Kid Rock. That's Jake.
That's a
Well,
Jake.
one of the last songs he did, I forgot what. It's something about the Most High though. He made it about God, and like that was one of the last songs he made.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's Jake. This is the spirit of Jake.
Kid Rock,
Yeah,
Eminem,
yeah, God.
Yeller Wolf,
Yep.
Yellow. Yep,
Yellard, Old Yeller.
Just like I was saying to John Travolta, that's clearly Jake.
Yeah, God.
This Tobit 13:3, confessing before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he has scattered us among them.
Yeah, he has scattered us amongst the Gentiles, these other nations. This is Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall say his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
Yep.
Says he shall set his hand the second time to recover the remnant. Where are the islands of the sea? That's fucking Rome, that's Greece, okay? Australia,
Yep.
you know, Scotland,
Ireland.
Yep.
Scotland.
that's an island, okay? Greenland, you got places, Greenland, Denmark, fucking, man, those tri countries up there, man, I forget their name, but they're up there by Russia. You got Israelites in Russia, man.
Baltic states.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the water.
The Baltics.
The Baltics, there's 3 up there.
Dude, you gotta
Like
have
Norway and them.
you gotta have Jakes in Ukraine, man. Just look at some of them Ukrainians.
You
bro.
got Jakes in fucking Antarctica, bro.
Yep.
If there's people there.
Jake is scattered throughout all the world, man.
Yep. Yep.
You know, that's the truth of the matter. No heathen is gonna make it, but there are gonna be Israelites that look like heathens. That's the spiritual side of it that you gotta understand. Okay? You gotta understand that it's according to a bloodline, a lineage. It's not what you look like, all right? It's what you go back to, you know? And you can see it through the spirit. All right, you can see it through the spirit, just like in Acts, when you go to Acts 10, and it says, can we deny water to those that have received the spirit as well as we? That's all spiritual, man. Because you know back then, during the time of Acts, you had to have had Israelites that looked like other nations. They were believers.
And during the time of Acts?
Yep.
Oh yeah, you do. I'm gonna get that. This, real quick, this is 1 Samuel 16:7. But Yahweh said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For Yahweh seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but Yahweh looketh on the heart.
Yep, looketh on the heart, man.
And that's twofold. Because you can look at somebody and say, oh, that's an Edomite, but he'd really be a Jake. Or you can look at somebody and be like, oh, that's a man of the Lord, and he'd be really a fucking demon, you know? It goes two ways. What'd you tell me? You mentioned the script.
Oh, I was talking about Acts 10.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't just have Jakes that looked like Jakes that were dressing like Greeks and into the Greek customs. You had Jakes back then that were dealing with women of these other nations, and their seed looked like the other nations, dressed like the Greeks, was into the Greek customs, but their fathers were clearly Jakes, man. Just look at Herod. His fathers were Edomites, but he looked like a Jake.
Yeah, his mom was a Jewess. She was a Judite. But he himself, he descended from them. What do you call it?
Macedonians.
Yeah, the Macedonians.
The Antipater.
Yep. The Herodian dynasty. This is Acts.
Yeah, which the Herodian dynasty came in because they had basically intermarried with the Maccabees.
Yeah.
And that's where that came out of.
Yeah. This is Acts chapter 2:1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. And they were dwelling at Jerusalem, Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven.
Yeah.
So they just told you that there was Jews. Southern Kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, so-called black men, women, children, that were Israelites, that are Israelites, that came out of all nations under heaven. They all came to Jerusalem to hear the word.
They looked like Jakes though.
A lot of them did.
A lot of them had to, because they wouldn't have been accepted. They wouldn't have been accepted otherwise.
Because what made them Gentiles or heathens during those times is because the customs that they were participating in. You had some that were wearing Roman fucking togas.
And they were being persecuted because Paul was bringing them in, and the Jakes, the circumcised Jakes, had a problem with them. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones I'm talking about. Because that in that scripture, those ones, they were Jews. They knew they were Jews. Like, they were going to the temple. They were accepted. They were circumcised. All that. The ones I'm referring to are the ones that Paul was dealing with. Even Paul had to rebuke Peter for it, because Peter was afraid to sit with him because of these other. And that's where you had a lot of contention. You best believe that there was all types of contention going on back then during those times. Man.
Yeah.
You know, because you had Jakes that knew they were Jakes the whole time, putting hell on these ones that were coming out of Greek customs and things like that. These other nations' customs. But those were the ones that were going to be coming out. Some of them looking like other nations. You know, some of them in the Roman army. You know.
This is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles,
Yep.
carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led.
See, these are the ones that a lot of Jake back then had a problem with. Because they were like, well, they're not Israelites. All right, the Lord cast them away. They can't come back in. You know, go ahead.
Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of Yahweh called Yahweh Shai accursed, and that no man can say that Yahweh Shai is the Lord, but by the Holy Ghost.
Man. And so it don't matter what you look like. Because it has to be given. Hey, it tells you in the scriptures, everything that you receive, it has to be received from heaven. No man can believe, nobody's going to believe in Yahweh Shai and have faith in the Lord unless it was given to them. Simple as that. You got something else? Yeah, I'm going to keep going on Isaiah. This is Isaiah 14:2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place. Oh, it says Isaiah 14:1, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Oh, and we just went into the strangers right now, so that's perfect.
Yeah, those are Israelites. Israelite foreigners.
Yep.
They're gonna find the truth and repent and come back to the Lord. We were Israelite foreigners, bro.
All of us.
We didn't know that we were Israelites, so therefore we were foreign to Yahweh.
Every Jake that's in the truth was a stranger.
Even though we look like your typical Israelite, we were still foreigners. You know, we were Gentiles.
Gentile.
We were.
Spiritual Gentile.
That's why it said, but we were
Alienated.
alienated. I was looking for the other one. So that you know that you were Gentiles led away by these dumb idols.
Yep.
We were worshiping fucking Jezreel, Borgia. You got other ones worshiping Allah. You know, we were into all different types.
Oh, the worshiping the universe.
Yeah.
The great universal spirit.
That's in the scriptures, bro. That people were actually worshiping stars and stuff back then.
Astrology.
That's in Ecclesiasticus, I believe, the 11th or 12th chapter.
And that's what the Romans and the Greeks were into.
Yep.
In the astrology.
Yep.
That's what Esau's into.
Yep.
Is astrology.
They got that bumper sticker to coexist, where it has all the different types of like, you know.
Yeah. There's hell of them.
Yeah, kind of.
There's a hell of them.
Yeah.
And Jake and all that.
And that's all goes back to the scriptures. All right, all these different gods that people worship now, these different astrology, the universe, the fucking Hinduism, Buddhism, all these things are just old gods that have always been around.
Yep.
It says, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids.
And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. Talking about the other nations, okay, the heathen. We're actually going to bring them to our place. For what? Slavery, man. Build our place, our kingdom up. What?
And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord.
It says that we shall possess them. The first one said that they were going to cling. The strangers shall cling unto us, and the people shall take them and possess them. That's talking about other nations, bud.
For servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
There it is, bro. They're going to rule over our oppressors.
We'll drop the mic.
Yep. And so with that, praises, honor, and glory
To Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Harakak
Double honors to our apostles and elders that rule well at Great Millstone. Shalom to all you sincere Akim that are preaching this word in all truth and in sincerity. And just want to say this, you know, just be more mindful of yourself, the brethren, and, you know, treat each other better and continue to fight and push this word, man. We're almost out of here. Just keep fighting, man. Shalom to the elect.
Shalom.